the lessons of post-World War II anti-communist efforts by the U.S. government and use that model with obvious changes to the current circumstances. This is the beginning. People are beginning seriously to think about the kind of questions you've asked. There is very little to show so far. Indeed, the U.S. government has a terrible record of mistaking Islamists for moderates over and over again. I'll give you one favorite example. In June of 2002, Robert Mueller, director of the FBI, broke bread with the American Muslim Council, founded and more or less headed by Abdurrahman al-Amoudi. In September of 2003, Abdurrahman al-Amoudi was arrested and he's now serving 23 years in jail for attempted terrorism. That is typical of the kind of mistake the U.S. government makes vis-a-vis terrorism and other forms of radicalism. It has an awful record, and understanding who is a moderate and who is not a moderate is the very heart of the problem, and our government and many other institutions are incapable of doing that. There's a lot of work to be done, but at least if we can understand what the goal is, to make that distinction, to build up moderate Muslim networks and so forth, then we can be on our way to solving it.
Let me just, if I can make one comment. I think it's important for us to define what moderate Islam or moderate Muslims, what that would mean. And I do hope that there are moderate Muslims out there. And what I mean by moderate Muslims is Muslims that acknowledge that politically, religion and state and politics need to be separate. That there should be no merger of politics and religion. I think it is Muslims that reject the idea of the primacy of faith over reason. Muslims that have a deep respect for reason and science. I think it is, I would like to call them, rather than moderate Muslims, I'd like to call them westernized Muslims or pro-reason Muslims or pro-freedom Muslims. And I think Muslims like that, Muslims who recognize the separation of church and state, Muslims that recognize the primacy of reason, Muslims that recognize individual rights, the concept, the idea of individual rights, are Muslims that need to be supported in this ideological battle. They need to come out first and foremost. One indication of this would be when the so-called moderate Muslims would stop blaming Israel for everything. That would be a great sign that there's somebody to talk to. I just read, I think it was April 8th, so it's a couple of days ago, 3 days ago, a column by David Brooks, who attended a conference of moderate Muslims. And he said he was shocked because all they spent their time on, according to this column, is Israel bashing. That's all they did. That is not going to solve anything. That is not going to help anything. We need to form alliances with whatever really moderate, as I've defined it, Muslims in the Middle East to help us crush our enemies. But let me also say this. In my view, if you win, it's less important. That is, what happens in the Middle East after you've won and made it clear to them the consequence of violence against the United States, then it's their problem. It's not my problem. My problem is when planes fly into the World Trade Center and kill Americans. My problem is when oil money goes to fund terrorism against Westerners. That's what needs to stop. How they then manage their affairs in these Muslim world, in the Islamic world or the Middle East is their problem, not mine. I hope that these moderate Muslims are found, that those who believe in separation of church and state will rise up and take over the Middle East. But if they don't, as long as they realize the consequence of messing with the U.S., it's their problem, not mine.
We have to finish at 9:15 because the room has to be empty by 9:30, according to the police. So I'm going to pose one final question. I got several of these. You have 30 seconds each. What can each of us do as individuals to fight for American values or to fight against Muslim totalitarianism? So who wants to start? 30 seconds. Daniel? Sorry, I can't do any more from the floor.
I actually have a list with me. 1, learn the subject matter, which you're doing this evening. 2, get active in the political process. Give of your time and money. 3, write letters to the editor, call talk shows, participate in internet polemics. 4, join and donate to organizations that represent your viewpoint, because you can do more as part of an organization than you can on your own. 5, engage in research. Who's who in the world of Islam? Who are the leaders of this mosque or this institution? Who is getting an award from the Los Angeles Human Rights Commission? And finally, if you really want to get involved, engage in internet counter-jihad. There's some extraordinary examples of individuals who have, on their own, become extremely effective in waging war by taking on personas and getting people arrested for their part in terrorism.
Dr. Sultan, 30 seconds.
I believe each of us has to educate himself or herself on the nature of Islam and its teachings, and to be involved in the political process, and to ask for the Islamic teachings to be out of our school here in the United States curriculum, because we cannot ask the Muslim leaders to take them out of our school in the Islamic world before we do it here. So go to the Islamic school here, open their books, read it, ask them a question, have them answer this question. That's what we need to do.
Dr. Brown.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Speak at every opportunity, write whenever you can, and support the professionals who do it professionally, whether it's Dr. Pipes and the various organizations he's involved in, whether it's Dr. Sultan, or whether it's the Ayn Rand Institute and the Campus Club network we have all across the country that supports these ideas. Speak, speak, speak. There's a vast majority of this country that does not know what to think. They have not made up their minds. They are open to persuasion. The only way to persuade them is to educate yourself and get our ideas out there. And don't, in my view, limit yourself to this one issue. This is a symptom of an American decay, of a lack of respect for American values. So when you're educating yourself, educate yourself about what this country is about, what this country means, what the values that this country represents, and speak up about those. Defend this country for the greatness that it is.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctors Yaron Brook, Wapa Sultan, Daniel Pipes, and Edwin Locke. As a show of appreciation for their courage to come here and speak on this very controversial issue, we have some lovely parting gifts. And we have some plaques which are inscribed with sincerest thanks to Dr. Yaron Brook, Dr. Wapa Sultan, Dr. Daniel Pipes for the courage to speak at Totalitarian Islam's Threat to the West, presented by Logic, the Objectivist Club of UCLA, April 12, 2007. Your words inspire us all. Thank you very much. And for our moderator, we have a fantastic gavel. Dr. Edwin Locke, an extraordinary moderator, which is almost an ironic phrase. So thank you very much. You want to clean them off? So if you'll please try to exit in an orderly manner. Feel free to take a look at some of the materials, but try to wrap it up. Unfortunately, we've got to get out of the room pretty soon. Thank you so much for coming. We hope to see you at future events.